Because if you want to be the #1 rugby team in the world, or #1 in any professional sport, then you have to be critical of yourselves. You need to ask yourself the tough questions. And we hear it all the time in the All Blacks camp that we're going to go back and we're going to have those tough conversations. Well, what are those tough conversations leading to? That's what my opinion is about on this channel. Because some of those tough conversations should have been that you're not good enough in that position at the moment and we need to try somebody else out. And we're not seeing that as a result of some of these so-called tough conversations. Are the Wallabies going to upset the All Blacks this weekend in Sydney? Let's get into the pre-game show and I'll share with you all my thoughts about this game. Okay, welcome everyone to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a retired Kiwi bloke. I love the game of rugby and I live here in beautiful Mexico. There's a combination for you. So in this video I'm going to talk about the game round 5, Australia versus New Zealand, going to be played at Sydney in the weekend. And in this pre-game show I'm going to go through the teams. I'm going to talk about the selections in particular that both coaches have decided to go with for this game. And then I'm going to talk some points around strategy and what I think might happen throughout the game. So that's what you can expect in this video. Okay, so let's have a look at the Australian team first, and we'll start off in their forwards in the front row. And well, for me it's a pretty good front row. They've got George Bell, they've got Faisler, and they've got Taniela Tupou. And whilst they're up against a pretty good All Black front row, I think these boys are going to give it a go. And it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out, because I'm pretty sure the All Blacks are going to think they're going to dominate in this area. But don't underestimate these Wallabies in the front row. We've seen great play from Angus Bell for the last couple of years now, and we've also seen Taniela Tupou's form going up to another level. He's always a threat, I think, when he's on the field. So moving into the locks for Australia, and we've got Nick Frost and we've got Williams. Been pretty impressed with both of these guys actually, despite the fall away against Argentina last time out. Nick Frost has been winning a lot of good quality line-out balls, so watch for him to do that. And Williams, he's been pretty good in general play, so I think these locks are going to give it a shot this weekend. The back three in the forwards for the Wallabies, and we've got Rob Valentini at 6, Fraser McWright at 7, and Harry Wilson coming in at number 8. I think this is a really good loose trio for the Wallabies. I think they're going to take it to the All Blacks and they're going to have some success, and that's my pick in terms of how I think this Wallaby loose trio is going to go. So very interested to see this matchup and how it turns out. Okay, so that's the Wallabies starting 8. Now let's have a look at their backline, and this is an area Joe Schmidt's been playing around with quite a bit for the Wallabies over the last few games. He's not settled obviously on his 9 and 10 combination, and he's been changing that around a bit. And if we look at this game, he selected Nick White to play at number 9. That's a great thing for New Zealand, because Nick White is going to give away a few penalties, that's for sure. He's one of these halfbacks that likes to have a chat to the ref, and don't be surprised if Nick White infringes in that particular area. But outside of that, he's got a good strong pass. He's got a lot of experience, of course, and I'm sure that's why Joe Schmidt's brought him in to start this game for the Wallabies. And then moving outside him, number 10, this has been one of the problem areas. Joe Schmidt hasn't been able to get that 10 that's really igniting this Australian backline and putting them on the front foot. In that first 20 minutes of the game against Argentina last time out, they really started playing very, very well. I thought Ben Donaldson was a star in that first 20 minutes, but then it all fell away for Australia, and I think that's been reflected in this selection for this game against the All Blacks. So we're going to see Noah Lolesio come back in at number 10 again. A little bit temperamental around his general kicking play. So it's an interesting selection given they're up against the All Blacks. And we'll just have to see how Lolesio goes again. But Joe Schmidt's giving him another chance at number 10. And then moving outside him, we've got the two interesting centre pairings for me. We've got Pasami at number 12, and at 13 we've got Len Ekitau. These two I've been really impressed with, and I'm going to be interested to see how they go up against the All Black centres, because the All Black centres haven't chosen who I would be putting in there. So that gives these two guys, I think, a bit of a chance to show what they can do against this All Black team. Len Ekitau was another of those players that played very well for Australia against Argentina in the first 20 minutes of that game last time out. but then he fell away like the most of the Australian team did. So I'll be watching him with keenness to see how he goes against the All Blacks. And then on the wings for Australia, we're going to see Marika Koroibete again, and we're going to see Andrew Callaway. So this looks like the way Joe Schmidt's moving forward with his wing combination. Both players on the day, they bring something different. Koroibete can beat any defence in the world. He's a great finisher as well. And normally he's very good in the defensive line. He wasn't last time out, so he'll be wanting to clean that one up. Callaway is one of those wingers who's pretty much steady in general play. He's not an absolutely dynamic winger, but he gives you a solid wing attacking option, and he's also good in defence. So Andrew Callaway gets another start for the Wallabies. And then at fullback, we've got Tom Wright. I've been impressed with Tom Wright, except for the last game out. And let's see how he goes against the All Blacks. He is one of these attacking or counter-attacking fullbacks that we see in rugby at the moment across the world. Fassi's another one, of course, from South Africa, and of course we've got Malia from Argentina and Beauden Barrett from New Zealand. So there's some pretty exciting fullbacks going around in the Rugby Championship competition this year, and Tom Wright is one of them for me. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Keep an eye on him at fullback for Australia. Okay, so that's the starting 15 for the Wallabies. Now let's have a look at their bench, and in the forwards they've got Mosa, Slipper, Alalatoa, Solitkai, Lotto and Gleeson. And it's good to see Gleeson back in this Australian team as well, and he's going to add a difference, I'm sure. So look, it's a pretty good bench as far as I'm concerned. Of course, James Slipper, over 100 caps for the Wallabies, a great ambassador for the game, and also a stalwart as far as experience goes for the Wallabies, and I think it's really good to have him coming off the bench, and Alalatoa as well. So this is going to be interesting to see what impact this forward group has coming off the bench, because I think that's going to be one of the tightly contested areas in this particular game. So keep an eye on when Joe Schmidt decides to use this bench, and whether or not they make a big impact against the All Black team. Let's have a look at the backs that will come off the bench for Australia, and we're going to see McDermott, Liner and Pearce, and I think that's a pretty good bench for Australia. Liner, of course, is still growing into the game, and this is good experience for him come off the bench again. He didn't do so well against Argentina last time out, but nor did many of the other Australian players as well. So there we go, that's the 23 for Australia starting the game. I'll talk around strategy and all the rest of it after we've gone through the All Blacks team. So let's do that right now. Now, if you've been watching my videos, I've been talking about the opportunities I think that Razor Robertson should be taking with this All Black team in terms of bringing younger players through, giving them the opportunities in this Rugby Championship this year, not focusing on having to win every game, but giving the squad of young players a great chance to get out there and get some opportunities to show what they've got. And once again in this game, we're not seeing it from Razor Robertson. He's gone back to a very conservative selection process in my eyes, and he's decided to go with a team that he thinks is going to do the job because they've got a lot of experience. So unfortunately for me, and I'm sure a lot of you remain frustrated around the Razor Robertson selection process for this game against Australia, and he's missed another opportunity. Remember, my views on this is about building towards 2027, giving these young guys an opportunity to show what they've got, put them on the line in these games in the Rugby Championship. But for the most part, we're just not seeing it, and we're seeing Robertson going back to the old, proven, experienced players who have actually let him down on a couple of occasions in this Rugby Championship. So I'm just not buying this philosophy at the moment, and I know a lot of you are not as well. But unfortunately, that's what we're going to see against Australia in this particular game. So let's start off, and I'll give you my views around those players that have been selected, and again highlight the ones that I think should be in there. So starting off in the front row with the All Blacks, and we're seeing Ethan de Groot back this weekend. Yes, he's got over that neck problem he had, and he's going to be starting again alongside Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax. So this is a very good front row for the All Blacks to go up against the Wallabies. I expect them to have the edge over the Wallabies in the front row, and if Cody Taylor plays like he did against South Africa, then we're going to be in for a great game, that's for sure. And then moving into the locking position, and the news is that Patrick Tuipulotu is not ready yet. Razor Robertson has said he needs another game in domestic competition before he's ready to come back on. He's only played once, I think, in the last 4 months. So he needs another run, and that's why we're seeing Scott Barrett and Tupou Vai back in the locking position for the All Blacks this weekend. And you know what? I don't really have an issue with it. Some of you being saying that Scott Barrett should go to number 6. I have my doubts about his effectiveness there, but I have my doubts over his captaincy. So that's something else that hangs over his hat as far as I'm concerned. So Tupou Vaa'i and Scott Barrett going to be the locking combination for the All Blacks. And then we go into the back 3 in the forwards, and this is where we've had a lot of conversation on this channel about the selection process going in here for the All Blacks, and I've got sad news for you all because we haven't seen the changes that we want to see. In fact, we've got Sam Cane again, we've got Ardie Savea at number 8, and we've got Wallace Satiti at number 6. So again, players out of position in my opinion, and we're not picking our best team. I'm of the opinion, like a lot of you are now, that Sam Cane has to be put aside. We all know that he's ending his international rugby at the end of this year. This is an opportunity to build these young guys into this team. We still haven't found our back 3 combination that's working for the All Blacks. I think Wallace Satiti needs to be in at number 8, Ardie Savea at number 7, and then let's work out who's going to be the best of the rest for that number 6 position. So again, Robertson's gone with this combination that A, I don't agree with, and B, I think they're going to be found out a little bit against Australia, because I think that Australian back 3, if they're on song on the day, they can really make a dent in this All Black back 3. So let's see how they go. So there we go. That's the starting 8 for the All Blacks, and my opinions about that. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking around this particular selection from Scott Robertson. Move on to the back line, and we'll start off at halfback, and it's Cortez Ratama. So yes, I'm in agreement with that one. Good move. Great to see Ratama getting another chance to start the game. And as I said in my previous videos, I think by starting Ratama in the game, he's going to build more and more confidence in that role with the All Blacks, and I think it's a damn good move. So at number 10, we've got Damian McKenzie back, folks. Yes, and I know a lot of you agree with me that he has shown in the last games against South Africa that he's not up to it when it comes to handling the pressure and executing the game plan that New Zealand needs to do. But Scott Robertson's gone with him again in this game, and the danger here is if he has a good game, everyone's going to be singing his praises again. And I'm going to stick my head right in the sand and say that I'm sticking with my opinion about Damian McKenzie. He is not the solution for the New Zealand All Blacks. So there we go. That's what Robertson's done. Let me know in the comments what you think. Could it backfire? Could it really hurt the All Blacks this weekend? We'll have to wait and see and find out. Okay, moving on to the centre pairings, and he's done the same thing there again against what I wanted to see. Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane are going to be the 12 and 13 combination again for the All Blacks, and it seems as though Robertson's just falling back into this position of conservatives. So yes, there's no Billy Proctor in this team for the All Blacks, and I think that's a very sad thing. And in my opinion, there's no point bringing him for games like Japan. He needs to be up against the better teams in World Rugby. Again, no disrespect to Japan on this front, but Proctor's just not getting the opportunity. So how is he supposed to grow into this All Black team? I just don't have the answer when I see this kind of selection. So it's Jordie Barrett and Rieko Ioane. All I can say is let's see how they go. Not my 12 and 13 that I would have put in there, as I've expressed in other videos, but that's what Robertson's gone with, so we'll have to live with it. Now moving on to the wings, and finally Will Jordan is back on one wing, and we've got Caleb Clark back this weekend as well, which is a great thing. This combination I agree with, and I think this is the combination the All Blacks need to go with going forward. We'll just have to see what service they get from this inside centre pairing of Ioane and Jordie Barrett. At fullback, it's Beauden Barrett, and yet another one that I probably wouldn't have agreed with, because I would have liked to see Ruben Love get a chance, or Stephen Perifetta. Put Beauden Barrett on the bench to make the impact for the All Blacks, because that's been one of the areas that the All Blacks have been really lacking in as far as I'm concerned. But we see Beauden Barrett at fullback to start this game again. So that's the starting back line for the All Blacks. We'll just have to wait and see how they go, won't we? But I think that Razor Robertson is giving Australia a really good chance here, because he's putting in some of these players that haven't shown, in my opinion, that they're up to the level when they're under a bit of pressure. Now, whether Australia can put them under that pressure, we'll have to wait and see. Okay, so let's have a look at the All Blacks bench for this game, and we've talked in a lot of videos about the impact of the All Blacks bench and how it probably cost them the games against South Africa, their lack of penetration in that last 20 minutes and their lack of ability to be able to execute with impact players coming off the bench. And I'm pleased to report that it's looking a little bit better in the forwards as far as I'm concerned. We've got Safo Amua Williams, and Tossi's finally in for all those fans of Tossi. He's getting an opportunity off the bench this weekend, which is fantastic. And I think that's a really good impact 3 for the All Blacks. Amura's a little bit of a question mark still for me, but let's see how this 3 go in the weekend. I think that looks a lot better for the All Blacks in terms of making some impact. Really happy for Tossi that he's getting an opportunity. And then the other 2 for the All Blacks, we're going with a 5-3 split, of course. Sam Dowry is going to be coming off the bench, and of course he's been doing good stuff for the All Blacks since he's been given an opportunity in the jersey. And it just shows when you give these young guys an opportunity, they either stand up or they show you that where their weaknesses are. In the case of Sam Dowry, he's been doing very, very well. Expect him to make an impact, get some line-out ball for the All Blacks when he comes on, and make a difference in general play as well. And then the last forward reserve for the All Blacks is Luke Jacobson. I know many of you have said Luke Jacobson's not the right guy as far as the last impact player goes. I tend to agree with you on that one. I don't think he is as well, but he is in this team to come off the bench, and we'll have to see how he goes on the weekend. So there we go, that's the forwards bench for the All Blacks, and whilst it's improved, I still don't think we're at the level where we're going to make a huge impact against the big teams in World Rugby. But let's see how these guys go on the weekend, and then we can assess it again after that. After all, we're just rugby fans making a few comments and having opinions, aren't we? So when I see these 3 names for the All Black backs to come on off the bench, TJ Perenara, Anton Lienert-Brown, and also Sevu Reece, I'm not getting those great vibes around huge impact. We know TJ Perenara's had his volatility around sensitivity, been upsetting referees. He's also slow when it comes to distribution of passes. His box kickings have been getting charged down. And in general, I don't think he should be in this team. I think Noah Hotham should be giving it a go. But once again, Scott Robertson has been going with the old players, the experienced players, because he thinks that's what's going to get them across the line against this Australia team. And I think this whole team selection from Razor Robertson reeks of panic and fear of losing a game against Australia, and that's why I think he's chosen this particular team. You might think I'm harsh, but I'm just giving you my opinion around this. So for me, Perenara, Anton Lienert-Brown and Sevu Reece are not the impact players that I'd like to see coming off the bench at all for this All Black team. As I said, I put Beauden Barrett on the bench to let him make the impact coming off the bench, and I'd put Noah Hotham in there as well, and probably Anton Lienert-Brown, but why not bring in Billy Proctor and give him an opportunity as well? Robertson hasn't done that. We'll have to see how these 3 players go and what impact they do have when they come on. Okay, so I'm going to share some other thoughts that I have around this game, and first of all, the selection from Scott Robertson for me reeks about conservatism because he's worried about losing this game. He knows that Australia are going to be up for this game. They're going to be bouncing back from that humiliation against Argentina. Now on the other side of the field, Joe Schmidt's got everything to go for in this game because no one's probably expecting Australia to win this game. Everybody's probably thinking the All Blacks are going to do it quite handsomely. So Joe Schmidt and his team can throw everything they've got at the All Blacks and see how the pennies will fall on this one. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting encounter. If the All Blacks don't get on top early, I think it's going to be a bit of a dogfight. I think Australia can get in there and hassle them for a bit. And I think Australia are going to throw the ball around as well, and they're going to test the All Blacks from a defensive point of view. It's a little bit unfortunate from the All Black point of view because if we're in a bit of a no-win situation as far as I'm concerned, because if this team does win and they win handsomely against the Wallabies in the weekend, what have we really learned? We've learned that this same team couldn't beat the Springboks. We learned that this same team has major flaws in terms of selection areas, and we're not doing anything about it. So when we head to the Northern Tour to take on England, Ireland and France, the All Blacks are going to be potentially exposed yet again. And we're not going to have these young players getting the experience. We're not getting these people coming into having new opportunities like a Harry Plummer, like a Stephen Perifetta and a Ruben Love and Billy Proctor. We're not giving these guys the chance to build in so they could be in that selection discussion when it comes to those Northern Tour important games. So for me, it's a bit of a wasted opportunity. And even if we do win this game, I don't see Razor Robertson making a lot of changes for the second game against the Wallabies, against the All Blacks in Wellington next weekend. So what do I think is going to happen in this game? Well, I think the All Blacks are going to try and get some forward domination early on. They're going to try and score some early points and put Australia under scoreboard pressure. We know that they're not too good at dealing with that at the moment in this particular team, and I think that's going to be an error where the All Blacks really focus. So the front row is going to go to work against this Wallaby team. I think we're going to secure some good line-out ball, but I think the breakdowns are going to be a really interesting part of this game, because I think Australia have got 3 guys in there that can really challenge the All Blacks. As far as the All Blacks kicking game goes, let's see what Damien McKenzie does. His kicks in general play for me have been pretty much 50-50 in terms of being good or adverse, and Beauden Barrett also has had a couple of wobbles at fullback when it comes to kicking. But it's through that centre pairing I'm going to be really watching in this game. Geordie Barrett, Rieko Ioane, are they going to be able to expose and use Caleb Clark and Will Jordan on the wings and bring them into play and allow them to score some really good tries for the All Blacks? That's going to be one of the things that I really keep my eye on. The other thing that we're all going to be watching with immense interest is the All Blacks' impact off the bench. Are they going to be able to close this game out? It doesn't matter whether they've already got a 20-point lead or whether it's very close. They're going to have to come on the field and do a job, this bench, for the All Blacks. So I think the forwards can do that. I have some reservations around the backs that have been selected, but once again, let's see how they go. Now, one of the things I want to say on this channel is that I spend between 2 and 4 hours a day reading your comments. So there you go, that's the commitment I'm giving you on this channel, because I'm really interested to what you've got to say. I want to hear different people's views and opinions. There's been a lot of discussion around this All Black team, and I think that's a very healthy thing. Because if you want to be the #1 rugby team in the world, or #1 in any professional sport, then you have to be critical of yourselves. You need to ask yourself the tough questions. And we hear it all the time in the All Blacks camp that we're going to go back and we're going to have those tough conversations. Well, what are those tough conversations leading to? That's what my opinion is about on this channel. Because some of those tough conversations should have been that you're not good enough in that position at the moment and we need to try somebody else out. And we're not seeing that as a result of some of these so-called tough conversations. So whilst you might think I'm being hard on the All Blacks and I'm being unfair, I look at this through the eyes of a professional athlete trying to be the best team in the world. You have to be cynical, you have to be critical, and you need to expect players to bring their best game in every single game. That's what it's about if you want to get to the top. Now, of course, you and I are not the coaching team of the New Zealand All Blacks. We're rugby fans that get to enjoy having a lot of banter and conversation here on a YouTube channel. And we just want to share our thoughts and opinions. So if you're going to do that on my channel, make sure it's not inappropriate, because if you do that, I'm going to give you a yellow card. And if you do it again, then I'm going to block you from this channel. There's been a couple of people who come here in the comments and put some BS down. I'm not going to stand for it, whether it's directed towards me or anybody else on this channel. I'm creating a respectful environment where people who are particularly new to the game can come and feel safe about asking questions and sharing their opinions. So make sure you get that message loud and clear, and I thank you for that. Okay, so what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think the All Blacks will win. Can Australia win? Of course they can. Will they win? Highly unlikely over the course of 80 minutes, and I think that's where the All Blacks might get it. We've seen enough of the All Blacks, particularly at Eden Park in Auckland against Argentina. When they do turn it on, they're able to score a lot of points. The fact is we haven't seen that enough throughout this rugby series. There's a small part of me that wants to see the All Blacks lose this game, because that shock and awe that will come from that situation might actually engage some change in this All Black selection process. Even though I'm a devoted All Black fan, I love my country, I love my rugby team, sometimes you've just got to hope that something happens to make things change and make things different. So a loss for me wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because it might finally inject some change into the selection process for the All Blacks. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the All Blacks are going to have enough against this Australian team. If we can involve Caleb Clark and Will Jordan and get some tries going for the All Blacks, they may run away with this quite handsomely. But if Australia come out determined like they did in the first 20 minutes of that game against South Africa at Suncorp Stadium, and then again in that 20 minutes against Argentina in that last test match, if they're able to put that kind of play together for a sustained period, then I think Australia are going to be in for a chance of at least keeping this game close throughout the 80 minutes. Across the field, there's lots of positions to look out for in this game. Halfbacks on both sides are going to be interesting. Nick White against Cortez Ratama, that's going to be a matchup that we need to watch, but also how they play for their respective teams and getting the distribution out, their box kicking, all of their general play work, that's going to be an area to keep your eye on. Of course, the number 10s, Damien McKenzie and Noah Lolasio, that's going to be another matchup that's going to be interesting. Who's going to come out on top with that, with kicking strategies and also running and getting their backline away. Now, don't forget to come back after the game because there's going to be so much to talk about, I'm sure of it. I'm going to have a deep review show where I go into looking at all the plays of the game, as well as a deep dive into the players that played well and those that didn't play well, looking at the strategies of each team and to see how they played as well. So make sure you come back to watch that particular video. And while I'm talking about it, here's 5 other ways that you can support my channel if you like my content. Remember, when you come to Inside Rugby with Mark, you get over 50 years experience of a guy that's been watching rugby all across the world. I'm not here to talk BS to you, I'm just giving you my views and opinions and calling it pretty straight as I see it as well. So if that's something you're into, then why not choose one or more of these options to support my channel? I'd be very, very grateful for it. Thank you very much. Now, I want to hear from you about this game, about the selection processes, both teams. What do you think of the All Blacks selections? What do you think of the Wallabies selections? Do you think the Wallabies have got a chance? Put all your comments down. I'm going to read them all, and I look forward to learning what you're thinking about this particular game. Now, we've got some really exciting rugby happening this weekend. Of course, not only are Australia and the All Blacks going to battle in Sydney, but we've got Argentina against South Africa. That's happening in Santiago in Argentina. That's going to be a fantastic game, so why not check out my pre-game video for that game. As soon as Felipe Contepomi has named the Argentinian team, I'll be putting that one together for you all to have a look at as well, so I share my thoughts around it. Hey, well, that's it for this pre-game show. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you come back to watch more of my content. I thank you very much for watching my videos. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, keep enjoying your rugby no matter where you are around the world, and I'll see you all again very soon from here in beautiful Mexico. Until next time, it's bye for now.